Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Running Code, Humor in South Texas Law Enforcement. I'm your host, T-Bone. With me and by my side, as always, my partner, J-Man.
What's up?
J-Man, what's up?
Not much.
All right.
Can't tell. I just got to work.
I can tell. See, I'm off today. This is my get out of work.
Yeah.
But, as you can see, he's wearing blue, so he's doing the Lord's work out there. So, I'm glad you're in one piece, like always, every time I see you.
Absolutely.
So, that's how we like to see it. So, we do appreciate everyone's patience that has been staying by us, even though we've been a while since putting out episodes. The last episode actually got a pretty decent viewership pretty rapidly, so I guess we got a hardcore group, and we do appreciate that. I haven't really, actually, honestly, I feel bad. I haven't got a chance to check the emails. I know we did get an email from the gentleman that we read his email.
Yes.
About starting late, and he answered, yes, absolutely, please put that out there. So glad we did that, brother. And again, we want to know how you do. If you end up joining a law enforcement agency this late in life, we want to know.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Will you be as fast as everyone else? No. But will you be smarter than everyone else? Probably.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
Remember the old bull, young bull?
Yeah.
Two bulls at the top of the hill looking down at the crowd of heifers, and the young bull says, there's one down there and fuck one of those cows. And the old bull says, no, let's walk down and fuck them all.
Yeah.
So you don't always have to get there first.
Yeah.
You don't always have to be fast. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Well, that doesn't just apply to shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Take your time at a scene. Why rush? If the incident's done, why rush?
Absolutely.
You're going to miss things. You're going to miss clues. You're going to miss witnesses. You're going to not see that. Notice that guy is paying a little too much attention. I want to talk to him.
Yeah.
Because you're just in a hurry to clean it up. And I get it. Call load is through the roof and you got 50 calls pending. I understand that. We all understand that. But if it's a major crime, you're doing a disservice to the victim. You're doing a disservice to the family if it's a homicide.
Yep.
So take your time, get it right, because you only got one shot at it. Because once you break down that crime scene, it's gone. Mm-hmm. Because the minute you pull that tape down, it is now considered contaminated and there ain't no getting it back.
Very true.
So it's kind of like for us, I'm a traffic homicide investigator. So we get a fatality crash, I better get everything the first time. Because once I break that scene down, traffic's going to start driving on that road again. How can I come back later? And if I had to come back later and look at it again and not say, how can I say those kids are part of the original crash if traffic's been driving over that road now for the last week? I can't.
Right.
So get it right. If it takes you an extra hour, that sucks. You want to go home. It's hotter than hell on the pavement, or it's middle of the night. You just want to go back home and go to bed when you finish it. But you're doing a disservice to the victims.
Yeah.
So, and you're not getting justice. Someone may get away with that because you didn't do your job. At the same token, the victim is not getting justice that deserves it because you want to move fast. So it's a sword that cuts two ways. So, yeah, you may be a little older, but I bet you do it. Take your time because you learned in life. By this point, at 56, I think he said he was.
Yeah. Yeah.
By then, you should have learned patience and wisdom. Hopefully. We had a deputy join our agency that was in his late 50s, and he's been just fine. Mm-hmm. He's got experience. He retired military. He had another career, and then he joined us. He has experience and wisdom and knowledge, and he may not run the 100-yard dash like that, but he'll get the job done because he knows to slow down and think. So nothing wrong with that, brother. Please let us know. Please send us an email. If you get into an academy, we want to know how you're doing. Keep us posted. I'm actually kind of interested now, kind of invested a little bit. I kind of want to know because that's good shit. I'm happy for him. I'm proud of him, and you're never too old. Some agencies won't accept you over a certain age, but other agencies have no age limit as long as you can pass the PT in the background and all that. Then bon voyage and welcome. So on that note, that's what we're going to talk about today. So what kind of cop are you?
Yeah.
So we touched on this before, but we didn't go super in depth on the different types of cops there are, and then inside an agency, what each division does and what the responsibilities are of each division. We never really went through that. We just kind of broad stroked it.
Yeah, like scam them, yeah.
Yeah, and I got some questions about, well, what's the difference between a school cop? What's the difference between a park police officer? What's the difference between a transit officer? At the bottom, there is no difference. They all have a Texas peace officer license. They're all cops.
Yeah, as a disclaimer, like every one of those types of police officers can arrest you. They have
the same authority.
Valid arrest authority. So don't just assume because this individual, this jurisdiction may be Parks, and you're like, oh well, he can't do nothing to me.
Yeah, yes, he can.
Okay.
So, inside the county where you are commissioned, no matter who you work for, you can make an arrest anywhere in that county.
You can.
Because you are commissioned in that county.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of your county, any Texas peace officer can enforce anything in Chapter 49, DWI, or breach of the peace anywhere in the state of Texas, anytime, on or off duty.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does this mean you should take your marked police vehicle and go to another county and start doing traffic stops? No, don't do that unless it's felonious, okay? But can you? Yes, you can. But now you caught it, you cleaned it, and if you were up on vacation somewhere way out of that area and it comes to court, guess who's going to court? And your agency's not paying for you to go to court. You dumbass, you did it.
Can you imagine, like, oh, yeah, that expired registration was a breach of the peace?
Yeah. I'm like, okay. Now, breach of the peace is one of those, you can mold breach of the peace from anything. So that's one of those, it's very rare we've actually seen it, because that's one of those, if there's no actual complainant, it's kind of like, can we just get this guy to the drunk tank for the night and just call it a day?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if that guy's fighting, obviously, and he's being violent, we can't take him to the drunk tank, because we're not going to put the civilians that work there in danger from somebody who's drunk and being an asshole. So, yeah, he's going to the jail.
Yeah.
He'll sober up there, and they'll let him out when he's under a .04. And, okay, now you feel like a jackass now. But if they're calm and chill, just take him to the drunk tank. Let him sleep it off. There's no charges. They'll walk him out the next day. You call it a day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's honestly, and I've taken, I don't know how many people to the drunk tank. But back on tack, because, boy, we constantly, which I don't mind. So you got your different kinds of cops, right? So we're in the state of Texas, and I can only speak on the state of Texas. Is it pretty similar across the U.S.? For the most part, yes. But there are some differences, like Eastern law enforcement agencies, like Jersey has some different rules, or Connecticut has some different rules on what you're allowed to do off duty, and are you even commissioned off duty? There are some agencies in the East Coast where they have no police powers off duty.
Yeah,
Off duty, they're not cops, and they have no police authority.
Well, Connecticut, for one.
I think Connecticut's one of them, I think.
They abolished the office of the sheriff up there.
Which is weird, because it used to be there was only one state there was no sheriffs, and that was Alaska.
Okay.
And then parishes in Louisiana, but the other 48 states had sheriffs. Connecticut abolished the office of the sheriff, which is like, blows my mind, because that should have been constitutional, because that's been around that long. I mean, it's not in this Constitution, but it is in the Texas Constitution. So we're going to speak primarily on the state of Texas, but the differences are kind of minor from state to state, because for the most part, you're going to have your state police, you're going to have your municipal police, and then you're going to have your sheriff's offices or departments. Some states departments, some states office.
Yeah, because I think New York, the corrections officers, they are peace officers.
They are.
Just like California. But I guess I say Connecticut, for example, I don't think their corrections officers are peace officers. I don't think they are.
Just like here in Texas, they aren't unless they get their own peace officer license. They're not hired to be peace officers, they're hired to be jailers.
Yeah.
So the further west you go, like California, prison guards, detention officers, probation officers, parole officers, they're all peace officers in California, period. There is no delineation. They're all peace officers with jailer training or corrections training.
Right.
Like probation and parole officers are cops, and they have full police authority, and they knock on your door. They're cops. They're not here in Texas. They're not cops.
Yeah,
they don't carry firearms, which I think is a bad idea, because there's been more than a few probation and parole officers who've been seriously hurt or killed by the parolee or probatee. They wear body cameras and vests, but they don't have guns. I'm like,
oh, they wear body cameras too?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I've been seeing lately. I think they finally just got some, so now they wear body cameras. They have worn vests. Now they're wearing body cameras too. So I'm like, all right. But no weapon, and they can't carry a weapon. If they get caught carrying a weapon, they get terminated. Okay. So I'm like, okay, I have a problem with that. But maybe that's just me, So let's start smaller, bigger, and go small.
Okay.
So start with state police.
Okay, easy.
Right. Every state has a state police agency.
They do.
California Highway Patrol, Texas DPS, New Mexico DPS, Georgia State Police, Florida State Police, Alabama State Police. Those are police officers who are commissioned by that state who have full authority anywhere in that state, period.
Yep.
Traffic stop, anything from a traffic stop to a murder doesn't matter. They have full jurisdiction anywhere inside that state, anytime, period.
Right.
End of story. Inside, though, you're going to have your highway dogs, and those are typically going to be your newer guys, the ones that just came out of the academy. You're going to work the highway. Mm-hmm. You're not going straight to a specialized unit unless you have something they really need, like maybe... Like, I think, I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, please someone email me and tell me I'm wrong at runninCode2023@gmail.com. I think if you're a pilot, you have to work. You have to get through your probation with your FTO, and then you can go to the air unit. I still think you have to do some road time, but you don't got to do years on the road. They hired you to be a pilot,
right?
But they want you to know what the hell's going on the ground, so you still got to do your time with your FTO, which I think DPS is 6 months.
Oh, okay,
and then they probably yank you into the air unit because we need you to be a pilot. That's what we hired you for,
right?
But you still need to know how the hell a patrol car works and a CAD works and a traffic stop works, and there's still basic things you need to know. If you're gonna be up in the air directing things, you need to know how it works down on the ground.
Right.
So, but let's say you graduate. We'll just use DPS because we're in Texas. You graduate the DPS Academy in Austin, and then you get assigned to your station, and it could be anywhere. You might be in El Paso. You could go Amarillo, Texarkana, San Antonio, Corpus Christi, the Red River. Guess what? It's the state police. When the way I've been told, the way it's explained to me by troopers that I know, they tell me week 3 of the 7-month DPS Academy, which is a live-in academy, Marine Corps style boot camp academy, 7 months of hell. That's why you don't really see a fat trooper too much here in Texas. I can't recall seeing fat troopers really too much anywhere for the most part. For the most part, they're in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
Is that week 3, you put in your dream sheet, just like the military. Where do you want to go? And then they'll disregard that and tell you where you're going week 4. So you can put down, I want El Paso. I'm from El Paso, so I want El Paso. I want, the counties around El Paso, whatever, because I'm from there and I like to be near my family. Great. You're going to Texarkana, the other fucking side of the state. You're going to Beaumont. So week 4, they tell you where you're going when you graduate.
Right.
A lot of people quit right then and there. Week 4, like, nope, I'm not going to the Red River. Dude, suck it the fuck up. You only got to be there a year and a half. 18 months. That's all you got to be there. And then you can put in for any other assignment and stay unless you promote. And they may not have a slot for that promotion. Mm-hmm. But, come on, dude, really? As hard as it is getting to DPS, because they are incredibly high standards, you're going to dip out after 4 weeks because they're sending you to Texarkana versus El Paso. Okay, it's the other side of the state. I get it. But they tell you this when you go through the recruiting process of DPS. They tell you could be stationed anywhere in the state. They make them understand that, and they make them sign a piece of paper telling them that. So it's like, really? Just getting to get what you wanted? Like everybody wants Austin, or everybody wants Dallas, or everybody wants Corpus because they want to be on the beach, But sometimes you're going to be in bumfuck West Texas where it's you, the sheriff, and a constable, and that's the only law enforcement in the entire county. Well, you know what? Do your job. So, but inside state police, you're going to have your specialized units. You're going to have your state CID, which is State Criminal Investigation Division. I'm not talking about the Texas Rangers. That's something else entirely, and we'll get to that. You're going to have your air units. You're going to have your plane units. You're going to have your mounted units, boat patrol, state SWAT. Everything that any other agency would have, they just have it in a bigger swath. They can be deployed statewide. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, I know you're in Dallas, but man, they just had a hurricane wipe out Port Aransas. Pack your bags.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. You're state police. So anywhere in the state. And that's what they give troopers credit cards. They give them one for hotels, one for incidentals, and one for gas. And they always have those. They issued those cards. And so you got to go, hey, pack your bags, you're going. And it's not really an option. You're going.
Right.
That's why it was about 5-6 years ago, South Dallas was going through hell and the crime rate was going out of control. And the mayor asked the governor for help. And the governor sent up like 200-something troopers to South Dallas and told him,
oh, yeah, that's right.
Get in that ass.
And then after a couple of
months. And them troopers got in that ass.
They said,
and people were complaining.
Please you can get away.
Please leave. Because them troopers were doing their job a little too enthusiastically. But they made thousands of good arrests. The crime rate dropped. Like, these assholes left. They're like, nope, we're going to Fort Worth. And Fort Worth's like, you ain't coming over here. So it's a tale of two cities. We talked about Dallas, Fort Worth before. Yeah. One is very red, one's very blue, and there's a reason one has a higher crime rate than the other, but we won't go there. We're going to leave the politics out of it. Because we haven't been canceled yet since the immigration episode. I'm surprised. So that's state police. But they have jurisdiction anywhere in the state of Texas, period, for any offense in the Texas Penal Code. That's it. Because they have statewide jurisdiction. End of story. Now, can they, I've heard this, well, they can't chase us out of the state. That's not true. If they're chasing you and you run into, say, Louisiana. Yeah, they're going to chase you into Louisiana.
That's a bad state.
While their dispatch is calling Louisiana State Police dispatch, Louisiana State Police is like, hell yeah, send them this way.
You might as well flatten your own tires. You might
as well just flatten your own tires. You might just get out and just
flatten your own tires. You run into their state patrol too. That's crazy. But
but so yes, they can though. It's fresh pursuit. You can absolutely chase them. Now, what's going to happen is if you do catch them, you cannot just take them and drive them back into Texas. You have to book them in the nearest jail and then we have to get an extradition warrant and bring him back that way. But we got him. We got him in custody. And Louisiana State Police will take him for us, and we'll put him in the nearest jail, and we'll book him in. But then we'll just have their CID. They'll call back to their CID, and they'll issue an extradition warrant, and they go get him, bring him back.
Yeah.
We can't just take you and bring you back across the state line. We can't do that. That's a big no-no. So because now they have the right to do an extradition hearing.
Yeah.
So we're not going to get into that, but it's a whole thing. Ex parte, all this crap, extradition waiving hearings. I will put it this way: let's say you do get arrested on an out-of-state warrant. Now, this is kind of off topic, but it's good information for the listeners. Let's say you get arrested on an out-of-state warrant. Let's say you're in California and you get arrested on a Texas warrant. You can say, "I'm not being extradited. Nope, I am not waiving extradition." That's fine. Literally, all we have to do is get a governor's warrant. Governor signs it. We send it off to that county, and they release him, and we bring him back.
Yeah.
So it's like, dude, you're wasting your time. It's going to take one day longer because it's pro forma. You send it up to the Texas AG, they sign it, give it to the governor, signs it, and off it goes. Yep. That's it. You're a fugitive from justice of the state of Texas. We're going to come get you. Yeah. So you can waive or you can deny extradition all you want. We're still just going to come get you. Now, there's certain levels of crime that will necessitate an out-of-state warrant. We are not going to do out-of-state warrants for misdemeanor like theft. We're not doing that. Yeah, we're not going to even extradite you out of the state. It might not even be out of the county. We might say surrounding counties only, and that's it. But felony, more than likely. And if it's murder or sexual assault, yeah, it's going to be worldwide, period, end of story. That's it. We're going to come get you. We'll pay the money to come get you, as we should.
Well, some places for murder.
Yeah. Well, I won't discuss California. That blew my mind when that happened. I could not believe it. But we talked about that already in a different episode. I don't remember what episode it was, but I pulled over someone with a murder warrant from California. They wouldn't extradite. And I was like, what? It's murder. What do you mean you don't want him? It's murder. Nope, we don't want him. Well, then take it out of NCIC so that we don't have to see it, But I was like, oh, my God. Luckily, the guy was chill. He already knew he wasn't going to be extradited, so he was calm, thank God. But you get shit like that.
Yeah.
So that's state police. Their headquarters is typically the capital of that state. That is typically where their headquarters is going to be. The director of that state agency works directly for the governor and the AG, the attorney general. That's it. So that's why state cops do more things than other cops do, because they answer to one person who answers to one person. Mm-hmm. So directors are like, do your job. That's why you'll see Texas DPS troopers shooting out tires, Georgia State Police rolling your car for you on the highway when you're running, because their director said, stop this crap.
Yeah.
So they're not quite as handcuffed. And if you notice, troopers and state police officers tend to have a little higher level of get her done. And that's not taking anything away from police officers and sheriff's deputies, but they're a little more handcuffed than state police is. Mm-hmm. Do we have the same authority as deputies and police officers? Yes, we do, because they have the same license. But what does their agency policy say? And that's where DPS is like, do your job, go forth and get them. And I don't care how you got to do it. That's great. I wish we had that. But that's state police. And state police also handles like major disasters. Hurricanes, especially in Texas. You got the hurricanes on the coast. So that's state police. Now let's bring it down to a county level.
Okay.
You have 254 counties in the state of Texas. Each county has one elected sheriff. Just like almost every other state in the United States, each county has an elected sheriff. And they are elected, not appointed. Very crucial difference between elected and appointed. The sheriff is the highest law enforcement officer in that county, period, because he's elected. All the agencies are under the sheriff's commission. That's it. He's the man. He or she, could be the woman. He or she is the man or woman, but they're in charge, end of story. And they don't answer to anybody except the county judge. Okay, and even then, the county judge can't really tell them what to do, but considering the county commissioner's court holds the purse and the money, they can make their preference known.
Yeah.
But now let's get down. So now we're down to a sheriff's office. And in Texas, they're called offices. In California, they're called departments. But in Texas, they're called offices because it's an elected official. Don't get me wrong. In California, they are elected as well. But they just call them departments there. I don't know why. But here it's an office. So it could be the Bexar County Sheriff's Office, the Travis County Sheriff's Office, the Bell County Sheriff's Office. Those are offices, but they are the sheriff. Now, constitutional, the only required law enforcement in the state of Texas are sheriffs.
Yeah.
Even state police is not constitutionally required. Neither are municipal police departments, such as Austin Police Department.
I think also constables, too. Because I think a county had...
You have to have a constable.
A constable and
a constable. Now, if you're in a small population county, you might only have one constable, period, because you only have 5,000 people in that whole county.
Right. But constitutionally, those two
are required.
They're
but the
required.
sheriff is the man of that county, period. Constables kind of do their own thing.
And we'll get into them too.
Yeah, we'll get to constables.
Yeah.
And I'll let you talk about that.
It's county government.
But it's county. So you got, let's say, tale of two sides of the state. You go to West Texas, where you get a county that's massive. It's only got 5,000 people in it. You're going to have one sheriff, one constable, and one trooper assigned to that county. That may be all law enforcement you have for that whole entire county because there's only 5,000 people, and the majority of them are ranch owners. Mm-hmm. So really, it's going to be the people passing through, or you're going to have your, DOAs, where someone had a heart attack and died or whatever. But then you get over to Houston, Harris County, which has 8 constable precincts. It's got a department so damn large that you have 8 different precincts to handle crap, civil and criminal. But they have the same authority.
Yeah.
Regardless, they have the same authority. But their workload is completely different. Nothing to holy shit, it probably never stops. You know what I mean? But that's Houston. And it wouldn't break my heart if Houston fell off into the Gulf. But anyway. But the sheriff's office, so the sheriff's elected. And all his employees are deputies. Regardless of their rank, they're all still deputies because they are deputized and commissioned by the sheriff's office, and they work for the sheriff. So the sheriff is the man. And now inside your sheriff's office, depending on where you're at, is how many employees you're going to have based on need and population amount. Like here we live in a pretty large county. We have a pretty large agency because we have to. But if you get out to like West Texas, again, we'll use that 5,000 person county. You don't need a sheriff's office of 1,200 people. Mm-hmm. There's only 5,000 people in the whole county. Doesn't change their authority, though. They still have the same authority under the Texas Penal Code, Criminal Code, Government Code, Occupations Code, and the Texas Constitution. None of that changes. Mm-hmm. It's just going to be now sheer scope and size of calls for service. What do they need to do? Like that county don't have a SWAT team, but they'll use the state police SWAT team.
Right.
They'll come in and handle it because they'll have that region. They'll come out of El Paso and they'll drive out there and they'll handle business. And let me tell you, when Texas DPS SWAT team shows up, they handle business. I've seen them handle business. It ain't pretty. They're like, let's end this now kind of people, which I love it. And I'm just kind of jelly. I'm a little jelly, actually, when I watch them. So your sheriff's office, you're going to have, so the sheriff's office is responsible for 3 things in each county. The courts,
yep,
the jail,
yep,
and law enforcement. They are constitutionally required to handle those 3 things. So you're going to have different divisions inside that sheriff's office. So let's just take a Travis County or a Bexar County or Harris County or Dallas County. Those are large population cities and counties. You're going to have your patrol division. You're going to have your SWAT teams. You're going to have your traffic units. You're going to have your street crimes. You're going to have your mounted unit. You're going to have your boat teams. You're going to have all this. And each one has a different function, but they all have the same authority and job. So just because you see a mounted police officer or a mounted deputy does not mean he cannot stop you and arrest you.
Yep.
He absolutely can. He's maybe on a horse, but he's still going to arrest you. So there's this misconception that only patrolmen can make arrests. I don't know where they get that. It makes no sense to me. Cop's a cop's a cop. If it says police or sheriff, they can arrest you. Doesn't matter if they're park or... Well, let me back up because I forgot about another part of the state police that no one ever talks about. State wildlife officers. They're warden. Cops. They're state police. That's why it says the back of their game warden, state police.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many times we've had calls for state police officers who call and say, can I get a deputy or an officer over here to help me out? Because they pull someone over there. You're not a real cop. And blah, 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 blah. And then the cop shows them and says, yeah, they are. Get out.
I know. Personal experience. I think that pursuit I told you about, that was initiated by a sheriff's deputy and a game warden. So, yeah.
So, let me explain something under Texas law. You cannot have red and blue lights unless you are a law enforcement officer with arrest authority. So, if it says game warden and they got red and blue lights, guess what? That's still state police. They're just responsible for game. But they're still state cops.
Yep.
They can handle everything. They can do traffic stops. They can handle criminal. Yes, they can. Now, do they want to? Probably not. I'm sure they don't want to be breaking up bar fights and domestics. But can they legally? Yes, they can. Are they going to volunteer for it? No, they're not. So I had forgotten to mention that. Now, they are commissioned under state police, but they're not troopers. They're game wardens, but they have the same authority, period, end of story. They're still Texas peace officers, end of story. Mm-hmm. And then the other division I forgot about in state police is going to be your Texas Rangers.
Yeah.
That's a whole different breed. You have to be a state trooper for 5 years to even attempt to try to be a Texas Ranger. There's only 150 allowed in the state at any time. So you may not have openings for a couple years because they have 150 of them. and then one will retire or one will pass away. Okay, we have one opening, and then here comes 1,000 troopers trying out for that one spot to be a Texas Ranger because they want to wear the cool hat and they want the little peso star and the 45. Rangers don't impress me. I've not been impressed by the Rangers yet at all. I don't care. I'm not impressed by the fucking Rangers. They don't impress me one goddamn bit. They're not Walker.
If the immigration episode didn't get us canceled, this will.
I have nothing against them. I'm just saying they don't impress me. They ain't Walker, Texas Rangers, roundhouse kicks. Okay, but they have a different job. So Rangers, yeah, they can handle everything, but they don't handle the little piddly bullshit. They're going to handle the high politic crap. This is going to be politicians or crimes like deaths in jails or dirty sheriffs. You know, they're going to handle the big stuff. They can pick and choose their cases. Honestly, they can take their case from state CID. So yeah, they're both investigators, but the Rangers have just a different set of responsibilities. I can't talk too much on them because I'm not one, but I do know what their responsibilities are. Yeah, they're investigators, but they take the high end. Holy shit, the governor's watching this one, kind of go handle that. You know what I mean? So, but again, same authority as any other peace officer, period. They're still cops. They can still traffic stop people. I don't know if I've ever even heard of a Texas Ranger doing a traffic stop, but they can. They have lights and sirens, and they're identifiable as a police officer. I just don't see them doing that. You know, I doubt. I would eat my hat if I saw a Texas Ranger do a DWI stop. I would fall on my ass. What? That dude must have been bouncing off guardrails like a pinball.
You don't even want to have. I mean, regular officers and deputies don't even want to do DWIs.
If I saw a Texas Ranger do, I'd be like, man, this dude must have been seriously fucked up, or that's his wife's sex. So, just kidding. Don't cancel us, and please don't come looking for me. So, that's state police, and then now we're back to the sheriffs. So now you have typically how it works in the state of Texas, not everywhere, but generally, and I use this as a general rule, so I don't give me hate mail. Well, this county, we don't do that. General rule, you start at the jail. Mm-hmm. That's the general rule. Not always. Some counties don't have to, but a good majority of the large ones you do, and there's a good reason behind it. You take a 21-year-old who doesn't know his ass from his elbow, and you put him in a jail. He works in there 2-3 years. He's going to gain a valuable experience how to deal with inmates, how they talk, walk, dress, act, their tattoos, what they mean, the manipulation tactics they try, because they're the same people on the street. Mm-hmm. They didn't change just because they're in the jail. The only difference is they might not be armed. And again, it might not be armed. Yeah. Because these assholes make shanks in the jail.
They sure do.
But they're the same guys. So you learn how to handle them without weapons. You have your brain, your mouth, and your 2 fists. And that's all you're going to have. So you learn how to use those tools. So when you do go to patrol, you're a better deputy. And I don't consider anyone a good deputy unless they've worked in jail, honestly. Because that is the true proving ground right there. And your reputation will follow you from the jail to patrol. So if you're a turd in the jail, we're going to assume you're a turd on patrol because no one's going to be a turd at the jail and a superstar on patrol. Your work ethic shouldn't change based on division. Right. If you're a hard worker, you're going to be a hard worker out there, you're going to be a hard worker out there. If you were shit hot in there, you're going to be shit hot here. If you're a turd in there, you're going to be a turd out here. It's that simple. That's human nature. So your reputation, you start day one at the jail, your reputation starts. You come to patrol like, hell yeah, man, I heard about you. Fuck yeah, I heard you were a headbreaker in there and you got shit done. Welcome to patrol. This here is different, but they're going to give you a little more leeway because of your reputation. Mm-hmm. But if you're like, yeah, I heard about you. I heard you're a fucking slug. You know, they're going to be watching you twice as hard. Like, okay, you think you're going to be that lazy one? You ain't going to be lazy out here, dude. Like, so jail is an invaluable experience for so many. And plus you start learning that part of the system. Yeah. So if you end up working booking or the CERT team or classification, you know, you were classification.
I was
CERT and booking and warrants. So you were booking. So you learn those pieces of the system and how it works, how charges work, how release works. Now, what does that have to do with patrol? Not really much, but it gives you an understanding how the system works. Yeah. And you know how you can help the guys out in there when you bring somebody in. Mm-hmm. Something simple as a booking sheet. Properly filled out and legible is a huge help for booking officers. And they're like, I can't read this guy's name, his date of birth, his social. I can't read this shit. You know, if you work booking, hey, let me type that out. Make sure it's legible because it helps them. And we all got to work together. Yeah. And you want to be that officer like, every time, dude, I can't read your shit. They call you. They call dispatch to call you to tell you to come back and fill this shit back out because I can't read it. How can you book somebody if you can't, their name, social, date of birth? They're not doing their job for you. That was your job. So, yeah, the jail is an invaluable experience all around. And I will tell you that rookies from the jail will put their hands on you faster than a municipal rookie who never worked a jail and their only experience was the police academy. But you worked the jail for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. You know your limits in use of force. You know when you can put your hands on somebody already. It didn't change on the street. It's the same rules.
Yeah.
So you'll be real quick day one. Come here. Mm-hmm. Whereas a municipal police officer rookie who never worked a jail will be like, can I put my hands on him? Your trainer like, yeah. Ours, they got to go, hey, dude, back it off a little bit. Back it off. Because you're jail mode. So then you go to patrol. Now you've been on patrol. Some agencies 2 years. Some agencies 5 years before you can test for detective. I'm a detective. And I waited almost 8 years because I was enjoying myself so much. I didn't really want to promote. But patrol is a young man's game. You really do start to age out of it. You're a little too old to be jumping fences. You know what I mean? After a while, you're like, God, that was a good fight, but shit, I'm going to feel that one for a week. There's a reason for that. It's time to maybe move on. I'm not saying you can't be the old wise man on patrol that helps the rookies and is that voice of wisdom that they need desperately. But if you notice, it's aging out. And it's so much younger and younger and younger, and the mistakes are being made. And not their fault they're making mistakes because we're human. But they don't have that voice of wisdom to go, let's walk down the hill, not run down the hill.
Yeah.
I got lucky. My FTOs were incredibly senior. All my FTOs were incredibly senior officers. So I learned so much. Now, they didn't teach me everything they know. They don't have that kind of time. They taught me everything I know, not everything they knew. They didn't have enough time for that, know. But I learned it the right way from the start. And I learned smarter ways to do things from the start because one had 25 years, one had 23 years, one had 27 years, one had 32 years. Like, they knew their shit. Like, they made everything look easy. Because they've been doing it so long, they knew how to make it look easy. Was it easy? No. But they made it look easy. And so I learned from them. 90% of being a cop is command presence. You may not know a fucking thing in the world, but look like you know what you're fucking doing. Have confidence. And 90% of the time, the problem goes away.
Yeah, true.
You walk in like, all right, what's going on? All right, everybody, you're here. Bringing down anybody here. Someone tell me what's going on. You don't know what the hell is going on, but you walk in with command presence, authority, and I own this house right now because I'm here. When I leave at your house again, right now it's my house. And they'll respond to that. When you walk in, excuse me, like Hooks on Police Academy, excuse me. That's not going to get a real good response, especially in Texas. You know what I mean? That might work maybe in California. It ain't working in Texas. They want command presence, command voice, but you learn that in the jail. You learn command presence in a jail because it's you and the 90 inmates, and it's just you. So if you can't learn command presence, they're going to run all over you. Mm-hmm. It's that simple. So let's say you decide to stay on the LE side, you don't want to promote. You decide you're going to go to traffic. Traffic has the same responsibilities as patrol, or the same, I should say, they can do the same things as patrol, but their specialty is crash. Mm-hmm. That's what traffic's specialty is. Now, DWI, let me be really specific here. For every Texas peace officer, DWI is not a specialty. It is a responsibility of any Texas peace officer, period, which is why you're required to have basic SFST in your academy.
Can you say it's a specialty to avoid it?
They'll make that a specialty. That should be a specialty. How to avoid DWIs. Yeah, but we're not going to talk about episode 1. That was episode 1. For those who want to go back and listen to it, that was actually our first episode. It was about DWIs. Now, traffic officers primarily focus on DWIs, but it's not a specialty. Now, do they get better at it than patrol officers? Yes, by virtue of doing it every single night, and that's what they do. But they can easily be pulled off that DWI to handle a major call in progress, and they're the closest officer. Mm-hmm. Hey, you're the closest officer, man. Hey, you can't be like, I'm sorry, I can't go to that shooting in progress. I'm a traffic officer. No, it doesn't work that way. You're the nearest officer with a badge and a gun. Get your ass over there. Doesn't mean you're going to take the case, but you can at least get there and calm the shit down, or maybe catch the suspect. Mm-hmm. And then, what was wrong with that? And then you turn it over to the patrolman. But you write your statement. Hey, I walked up. I saw him doing this. He said this. I put him into custody. And then about that time, the rest of the world showed up. Transfer him to the officer who's going to take the report. And you do the report. But you were there. You can't say, I'm sorry, I don't do anything other than DWI now. That's not how that works. It drives me nuts when I hear them say that. Because I was a traffic officer. But there was times, I don't know how many arrests I made because I was the closest one. I can't forego my responsibilities just because I'm looking for a drunk. But there's a disturbance in progress with a gun around the corner. Well, I'm going to have to let the drunk go because that's toned out and somebody could be the difference between life or death.
Yeah.
And boy, would I look foolish if someone said, yeah, I saw you drive right by that street and pull over that drunk. Well, that woman was calling in saying her neighbor was shooting her husband or whatever. Right. Now you look like a giant jackass, and maybe you could have stopped that. Maybe you could, maybe you couldn't have. But did you try?
Right.
Can't stop everything, but did you hit the lights and shoot over there to see if you could?
Yeah.
So, but traffic officers, by and large, have the responsibilities of crash and DWIs. But that's not, the crash is the specialty, not DWI. They just get really good at them because they're virtue of what they do every night. Daytime motors is violations, traffic violations. That's what they do. But they can, again, also respond to anything. In my agency, we had a motors unit that it was a kidnapping in progress with a gun, and he happened to find the car. He ended up having to kill the man. The guy shot his wife and then pulled the gun on the motor unit, and the motor unit shot him right in the open mouth. But it's too late for the wife. She died right there. But he was the first one there. He was the closest one in the area. So it was his responsibility now to start looking for that car.
Right.
So he's not just writing tickets. And that's always frabbed me. All you motors units do is write people tickets. That's their function, but that's not all they do.
Right. So
trust me, when the metal meets the meat, they're going to be there. They may not be thrilled about it, but they're going to get in there and get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so patrol has the function of taking the calls and being proactive looking for crime. That's their job. But their primary job is to take calls for service. That is a patrolman's job. People call 911, they expect a police officer to appear, whether that's emergency or not. That's your primary job. In between calls, you want to go be proactive. Great, go be proactive. Go look for these turds. But if it's Friday night and it's call to call to call, you probably shouldn't be doing proactive traffic stops when there's 20 calls holding, because you're going to screw your square partner, and he's going to be he or she is going to be a little unhappy with you because you left them because you made an arrest for 0.4 grams of meth when they got 25 calls holding and 10 of them are violent. Like, really, dickhead? Do that as a rookie. You won't do it very long. You know what I'm talking about.
That registration sticker badge had to get it expired 2 years.
Yeah. I learned towards the end of my patrol career to do this on the way to the substation. Unless it was like a car bouncing off guardrails, I don't got a choice. I don't care about registration. I'm going to the substation. I don't care about registration, because I guarantee you the traffic stop you make on the way to the substation is going to be the one with the gun and the child porn and the warrant. You're like, son of a bitch. You know what? I'm not saying it's not a bad thing, but like, really.
But you're like, pick time and place.
Like, fuck, man, time and place. Yeah,
time,
know
place.
when and where to push. So patrol, though, you can stay on patrol your whole career, and some do. You become an FTO and then a very senior officer, and you're the old man wisdom of the shift that knows everybody in town where all the turds live. And man, I've arrested his grandpa and his dad, and I'm arresting him. I know the whole family. My FTO knew everybody on the south side. Everybody. He went to high school down there. He knew every single shit house, outhouse, back house, turd, family. It was great because I didn't know anything about it. And he'd be like, oh, that's so-and-so. And I know exactly where his mama lives, too. We drive over to mom's house, and there he is. Come here, man. I was like, how do you know that? He goes, I went to high school with him. I was like, what? You know? So because of that, he was well-known and respected, and a lot of people listened to him. It helped that he was a mountain of a man that could pound you like a tent peg, too. Big boy. But let's say, like, I've been patrol for 2 or 3 years. There's a lot of lateral jobs you can do as a 6-lead patrolman. You could be SWAT. You could be traffic. You could be mounted. You could be boat, you could be drone, you could be community policing, crime scene,
narcs, gangs,
absolutely. I mean, there's just so many opportunities at the 6-lead level because somebody's got to do it.
Right.
And in a county this large, you need every one of those jobs.
Mm-hmm.
We all still work together. The drone unit works at mounted patrol and a missing person. Mounted patrol's on the ground, the drone's in the air going, directing the mounted unit to where they think they might see a body, or that might be the missing person's at. The drone team works with the SWAT team. They'll go in the house first. Send the drone in. If he gets shot, who gives a shit? It ain't a SWAT officer taking a bullet. It's the drone. Screw it. We know he's armed now, and we know his intents. Okay, let's go a little slower now, guys. We know he's armed. So we all got to work together, but the responsibilities don't change. We're all police officers. We all have the same arrest authority. Now, I don't think you're going to see crime scene doing traffic stops. I think I heard it one time, and it was that bad where he had to actually do it. And he was like, son of a bitch. And he was on the way to shoot a crime scene. But it was so bad he had to stop the car. And he got his ear chewed off for it until he explained it. And they're like, okay, he didn't have a choice. Yeah. But a patrol unit came over, took it. What'd you got? Okay, I'll take care of it. Go. Because he had to go do this. I think it was a homicide or a sexual assault. It was something pretty major. They needed him, but he did not have a choice.
Yeah.
You have to address it. I mean, you have to address it. How many times you head into a call and something else that's bigger pops up?
Oh, yeah, true.
And well, hey, put that on hold.
Especially if the call is minor. Yeah, especially if the call is minor.
Yeah, if it's a civil matter, my ex-husband's 5 minutes late dropping the kids up. I want a police report. And there's a guy running out of traffic butt naked in front of cars. Well, guess what's when you need to address? Before he gets ran over by a fucking car, and now you got a fatality to deal with. So it's like, well, you can't be like, nope, she really needs this police report for her ex-husband being 5 minutes late. You know what, lady? You're going to wait. Because it can wait. In fact, you know what? Let's wait till next week. Better yet, don't ever call again. So the sheriff's office, so you got those jobs, but then you decide, no, I want to promote, I want to be a detective, an investigator. So you promote. So you take the test, do the written exam, civil service, do the interview, you make it, you're on the list, and then as positions open up, they take you over, and you're going to be, now, here's the positions you have. In most divisions, most investigator divisions have pretty much the same thing. You're going to have your violent crime, special victims unit, child crimes unit, traffic crimes unit, night crimes, which is going to handle everything overnight, maybe white collar, property crimes. A detective, though, is a detective, and on paper can handle any kind of crime there is.
Yeah.
But there are, don't forget homicide.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
But they're specialties. A homicide detective is not going to take a child's sexual assault. That's not their job. That's child crimes. They handle that. Just like a child sex detective is not going to handle a homicide. Doesn't mean they can't be the persons on scene if they're the nearest one there. Mm-hmm. The detective's still a detective. They can hold everything down. Nobody leaves. Start separating witnesses now. And then when homicide shows up, here's what I got. I've done this. I've done this. I've done this. Thank you. We'll take it from here. And then you go on your way and go do your job. Yep. A detective, though, is a detective is a detective. I started out in violent crime, but I handled sexual assault cases, which is not violent crime. Violent crime handles anything non-sexual, non-family. Ag robberies, aggravated assaults, deadly conducts, shit like that. But I've handled special victims unit, which is going to be family related or sexual related for adult crimes. But as VC, I'd handled family violence. I handled sexual assault because I was the only investigator available. I can't say, tell that sexual assault victim they got to wait. Yeah. That's not fair to the victim. And we need to find the suspect now. So the sooner we get to talk to the victim, the sooner we can find the suspect, get him into custody at least, and get his DNA and his SANE and call it a day. And then I could turn that over. Or I can just keep the case, but just work with SVU on, hey, what am I missing? Tell me there's something here I need to do that I haven't done. I don't want to fuck this case up and deny the victim justice because I don't know what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And I learned how to handle a sexual assault. Now, is it something I want to do daily? No. But can I do it? Yeah, I can do it. But that wasn't my bailiwick. Mm-hmm. I handled violent crimes. So a detective is a detective is a detective. Right. In theory. Okay, but then you get your real specialized. I'm a traffic homicide detective. So I handle intoxication assault, intoxication manslaughter, vehicular manslaughter, DWIs, evadings, and hit and runs. Those are my responsibility. It does not mean I cannot get sent to anything. I can and have been sent to anything because I was the only investigator in the entire damn office when the call came out. Guess what? Sorry. Like, that has nothing to do with me. There's a victim somewhere. Yeah. Get off your ass and go do it. Yeah. So I have a sign above my desk. Get off your ass and go knock on doors. It's too easy to get stuck in the office using everything electronic when you actually need to leave the office and actually go knock on a damn door and try to find a victim. Try to find a suspect. It sucks. But that is what it is. That's the job you chose. You can't bitch about it now. Yeah. Then let's say, okay, I've been an investigator now because the minimum in our agency is 2 years and you can test for sergeant. Some agencies is 5. Everybody has different rules. By and large, it's 2 in sheriff's offices. And usually it's 5 in municipal police departments. But that's going to be civil service and collective bargaining and all that crap. And we're not going to get started on that. So you decide to make sergeant. You have the time in service. You got the time in grade. You go test. You made it. You're on the list. Whether you're number 1 or number 10, that list is generally good for a year from the date that the list comes out. And you got to hope 10 people retire or move on, or they had the openings, or the commissioner's court grants you more positions in that rank. to be able to get them, because they can't just promote you if there's no position open, or the commissioner's court does not approve that position to pay you, because everything boils down to what? Money every time. Mm-hmm. Now you're a sergeant. Now you can be a CID sergeant. You can be a warrant sergeant, a mental health sergeant, a patrol sergeant, a night crime sergeant, a courthouse sergeant. I mean, except jail. That's the only thing you're not going to be, because you're on the LE side. You're on the law enforcement tier. But yeah, you can be this sergeant, that sergeant, that sergeant, and it's the needs of the sheriff's office. It doesn't matter where you want to go. You're going where they need you.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the downside once you make sergeant, is they move you where they need you now. You can ask. You can put in your wish list. Doesn't mean you're going to get it. They're going to put you where they feel you're suited best. Then you can promote from there to lieutenant. And you could be a CID lieutenant, traffic lieutenant, patrol lieutenant. You could be courthouse, whatever. Or then captain, and then chief, and so on and so forth. That's pretty much, though, the general makeup, though, of a sheriff's office. Now, what are the responsibilities of the sheriff's office, like we said? Courthouse, jail, and law enforcement. You don't constitutionally need a municipal police department. There is no requirement for a municipal police department. They're nice to have, not required. There are some counties that do not have a municipal police department anywhere. They have a sheriff's office that handles everything because they're unincorporated. They never incorporated as a city. So sheriff's office has the responsibility and the authority to handle it. Now, sheriff's deputies can handle anything inside that county, period, if they so choose. They can run traffic downtown. They can run traffic in the far reaches. They can take calls for service if they wanted to. They can be flagged down by a citizen right around the corner of the courthouse. And guess what? We can't say, call the municipal police department. I got it. They flagged me down. It's mine. And I have the authority to do it because the sheriff's office has full, total, complete authority anywhere in that county, including the city, period.
Yeah.
That is constitutional. So there are people who have told me when I was a traffic officer and I would do a traffic stop in the middle of the city, you can't give me a ticket. You're sheriff's. I'm like, that's great. Give that to the judge and see what happens. Have a nice day. Gee, it turned out I was right every single time, But I've heard that because people think, well, sheriff's only in the county. Yeah, you're wrong. And that's any state. Sheriffs have authority in that whole county anywhere.
Yeah.
Now, they may be told by their upper management, stay out of the city and work in the county.
Yeah.
But if they're on the way back from the jail and something goes down in front of them, they have the full authority to handle it. Yep. Hit the lights, deal with it. And now it's yours. You caught it, you clean it. It's yours now. Like shit. So now let's go down to the municipal level. San Antonio Police, Austin Police, Dallas Police, Houston Police, Kerrville, Bernie, Parr, whatever. I think it's Far. Yeah, Far.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Far.
That's the municipal police department. Their authority is in the municipal areas of that incorporated city.
Yep.
Do they still have authority outside? Yeah, they have authority, but their jurisdictional limit outside of a pursuit, where it goes into the county or the unincorporated county, or they got to go. A detective got to knock on the door to talk to a suspect. They can legally go outside the city limits and knock on doors, talk to suspects. They can, absolutely. And they can enforce, they can arrest them if they find them. There's nothing wrong with that. But typically and generally, municipal police stay inside the municipal city limits.
Yeah.
That's what they're responsible for. That's what they're paid to do. You deal with that. But they deal with the same crimes as anybody else.
Yep.
They have the added city ordinance shit. So
that can be helpful.
It can be helpful, but sheriff's offices cannot enforce city ordinances.
Nope.
That's not our city. We don't work for the city. We have county ordinances, and they're not always the same. So that's why county ordinances are rarely enforced by the sheriff's office. That's going to be your ace in the hole if we really need it, kind of thing. Other than that, I'm leaving it alone. I got way too much shit to do in my day. Then your 18-wheeler shouldn't be parked during this subdivision at night. Okay, who gives a fuck?
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of cities where...
Is it illegal? Yeah. Am I going to tow someone's 18-wheeler when that's how they make their living? As long as it's not blocking the road or making it unsafe, that's how someone makes a living. Oh, yeah. I'm not going to tow their 18-wheeler. That's a $2,000 tow.
A lot of places where an 18-wheeler cannot go through no neighborhood or anything like that. Just better not. You get a hefty fine from the city ordinance.
But there's a difference between a city ordinance and an HOA policy.
Oh, yeah.
We don't enforce HOA policies.
I think we did an episode on that, too.
We did. Yeah, we talked about it.
But
we don't enforce HOA policies. We don't enforce city ordinances. We enforce state law and county ordinances. Because we're not municipal officers as sheriff's deputies, we don't enforce their ordinances. But there's a difference between an ordinance and a state law. So let's not get those confused, listeners. There's a difference between the two.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ordinance would be created
city
by
council,
city council,
the mayor,
and of course state law is by the freaking governors.
Governor and the legislature. They make a law,
Texas
and then
legislature,
governor signs it. It goes in the law books, and now it's a law.
Yep.
That's what we enforce. Don't have to like every law we enforce. We don't, and some I don't agree with, but I don't have the choice to agree or disagree. My job is to enforce it. I have to be blind in it and enforce it. You know, in the older days, you could do spirit versus letter. These days, of cameras, okay, you took away our discretion. Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to enforce it whether you like it or not because you took away my choice to go, you know what? You don't deserve to go to jail. Get the fuck out of here and don't let me catch you. If I catch you again, though, whole different story because you got a freebie. Oh, I got a camera now. Sorry. You took away that choice from me when you demanded cameras. Well, now it's screwing you back. Sorry. So, Jax, lay down. Lay down. I know you want to be in the show, but you're not in the show. Lay down. So, sit's close enough. Good job. That's our little canine Jax for those that may be tuning in for the first time. And he loves him some J-Man. So that's municipal police, but they also have a criminal investigation division, SWAT teams, bike patrol, traffic, drones, gangs, narcs. They have all the same stuff. If you bear it down, there is no difference between a municipal police officer, a sheriff's deputy, and a state trooper. They have the same authority, rights, and privileges of a police officer, period. The only difference is who hired them. And that's it. But they can do all the same job, and there is no difference between them. So people tell me, oh, park police can't do traffic stops. Yes, they can. School cops can't do traffic stops. Yes, they can. I don't know why you think that. It says police on it, doesn't it? Now, let's talk about that. So you got your littler stuff, right? You have your transit police, park police, school resource officers, still police officers. They're still commissioned peace officers. End of story. Give me another one. NASA has their own police.
Oh yeah, like
down in Houston.
It's like oh yeah, really?
VA police, federal, protective service.
I think
and then you're going to have your little municipal agencies around that county. Yeah, because they're their own little unincorporated or their own little incorporated city. They're still police officers, and they can still arrest you and traffic stop you. And I've seen them do it on the highway, leaving the jail, going back to their incorporated area, and they're nowhere near their city, but they'll do the stop.
Yeah.
They can. There's no good law against it. Now, does their agency say they can or cannot do that?
Right. That's what always.
But there's no law against that. Now, that's inside the county you're commissioned in.
Yes.
Unless you're state police, you are supposed to stay inside the county that you are commissioned in. But inside that county, you can enforce any Texas penal code or traffic law, period. Yep. But outside the county, it's going to be Chapter 49, DWI, or breach of the peace. Now, this doesn't mean you cannot chase someone in the next county. Absolutely. It's fresh pursuit. You chase them. But, of course, your dispatch will be notifying the next agency over, hey, we're coming into you. Can you give us a hand? And they will. We've never had any kickback on that. And they usually jump on that. Hey, hell yeah. We're bored out here. And they'll pile on, too. And next thing you know, you got 4 different agencies chasing you because everybody's bored. But that's legal, and you can do that 100% because it's fresh pursuit that started here and went over here. We don't stop at the border and go, oh, not our county. Have a nice day. No, we don't do that. Now, your supervisor may cancel it and say, let it go. Did you identify him? Yeah, I know who he is. Let it go.
And, I mean, there's so much. Even, like, I guess, like, I didn't learn this until I actually read it, but I think there's only certain cities in Texas where the population is over 2 million or over 1 million, hospital district police.
Yeah, I think it's 1 million.
That's really why they exist.
Yeah, so I forgot to mention them. So, yeah, your bigger counties are going to have usually a county hospital district police. They're still police officers. It's just their responsibility is going to be that county hospital, and that's where they're going to be assigned because shit does happen in hospitals.
Don't think they're a security guard.
They're not security guards.
They pull out them handcuffs and 3 of them rush you. You're going to jail.
Yep.
Like, you're going to jail, and they will transport you. Like,
absolutely. They don't need anybody's help. They just throw you in the back of their car and drive you out of the jail.
They're not going to call the municipal agency that the hospital sits in or the county SO. No, man, they're going to do it.
Yep, and they're going to handle business.
They're going to handle it.
University police, University of Texas PD, whether that's UTSA, UTEP, UT Austin, they're all university police. They're police officers. Their commission falls under the state police.
Yep.
They're police officers, and they're University of Texas. They have jurisdiction in Texas. A lot of them don't realize. A lot of people don't realize that cops have jurisdiction in the entire state,
or wherever their properties, like their certain properties
Wherever
are dispersed throughout.
Yep.
Yeah, they have jurisdiction there too.
Yeah, absolutely. But they can do a traffic stop on the way from the jail back to the college. They sure can. Will they? Maybe not. Maybe their policy says no, but can they legally do it? And for the listeners who've been with us for a while, by now know the difference between policy and law. And they are two separate things. Yeah. Law may say you can do it, and agency policy say don't you fucking even think about it.
That's true.
So let's discuss that for a moment for those that are maybe new or haven't heard that. The law says I can chase you in a car, a vehicle pursuit for any offense in the Texas criminal law and traffic manual.
Yep.
Any offense.
Yep.
But my agency is going to be like, the fuck you are. Now, state police, they chase you. Period. Registration you take off, they're coming after your ass because they know you're not running just for the registration sticker. You got guns, drugs, you got something. Okay? But other agencies don't want the lawsuits that come with that because you're chasing somebody with a registration sticker, they blow the intersection and kill somebody.
Right.
They automatically want to blame the agency. Well, you shouldn't have been chasing him. No, he broke the law. And he's running for a reason. Mm-hmm. Okay, we understand that. But agencies are like, look, if it was shoplifting, who gives a fuck?
Right.
Let it go. It's not worth a death. And they're right. It's not worth a death. It really is not worth someone dying because it's not usually the suspect that dies. It's the innocent person they run into in the intersection that dies. That's not worth Joe or Jim or Sally's life who's on the way to work or home.
Yeah.
For shoplifting, now murder. Again, situational. If I'm coming up on a school zone at 120 miles an hour chasing somebody, school zone's active, it might be prudent to let that go.
Yeah.
Because the last thing I want to do is stand over a kid because this guy loses control in the school zone and plows through a yard full of children. That ain't worth it.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was chasing this car, I don't remember what I was chasing him for. And I think it was a warrant. Whatever it was, we were doing 90-something miles an hour. And I happened to look up and see the school lights and said, fuck that. I'd killed my lights, flipped around, went back the other direction, and put it over the air on dispatch. I'm canceling this pursuit because of the school zone. Last seen, he was heading that direction. Now it's not on me now.
Right.
So if he does keep going, even though I'm no longer chasing him, and he kills somebody, not on me. But if I stayed behind him the whole way and he kills somebody, guess who that's on?
It's on, yeah.
Because they're never going to blame the suspect. They're always going to blame us because we have deep pockets. Now, if that suspect was a billionaire, well, then they might go after him. Mm-hmm. But chances are he's not. But they do know who has the deep pockets.
Right.
Law enforcement. They think we have the deep pockets. We actually don't. So you're not going to get millions. This isn't LAPD, where you might get $20 million. You might get 50,000.
Oh, okay.
So that's, again, the difference between law and policy. Who can do what? Some agencies are looser. Some agencies are tighter. Some more restrictive. Some are less restrictive. It's really going to depend on your sheriff or your chief of police or your state director that says how tight or loose they're going to be with the rules.
Right.
Go do it, or, hey, you know what? Let it go. Most state police, they're pretty loose. Go get them. Go handle business. But they're counting on you to make the right decision and you to make the right choice. You're an adult. We live by big boy rules. Make a big boy decision. Don't fuck up and get somebody killed when you could just let it go.
Yeah.
Okay. But then you get some really super restrictive state, or municipal police agencies like Austin PD as an example. They're incredibly restrictive. But look where they're at. They're in Austin.
Yeah, local politics.
The level of politics and the political slant of that city kind of dictates that.
Yeah, that can be. I don't even want to start.
No, yeah, and that'd be a whole hour by itself if we really wanted to dig that deep. But that's the difference. So it's not the law; it's policy. But at the end of the day, every single car you say it says police on it is a police officer, regardless of what they do for a living. Whether it says sheriff patrol or police or state police or game warden, those are cops. Yeah, that's why they have red and blue lights.
And let me just touch on the last little piece of it, because we just haven't, and I heard it a lot more than I've heard for anything else. Constables.
Thank you. Yeah, take that away.
I've heard it.
So how does one become a constable?
It's the same process if you're applying to any law enforcement agency.
No, I'm talking about the constable.
Oh, they're constitutional. Constitutional,
so they're elected
with the text. Yes, okay. So they're elected. Also, they're an elected official. Each county in Texas, I think, except for I can't remember which county it is because they got some agreement. I can't remember what the counties were, but every Texas county is supposed to have one sheriff, and one constable at the minimum. Depending on the population, depends on how many precincts you can have. The least amount is 1. The most is 8, i.e. Harris County.
Houston.
8 precincts because their population is over 5 million. So throughout the whole of Harris County. So that's why they get split up into 8 different precincts. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Jax, my bad. They're elected, so they answer to the people in their respective precincts. But, okay, you also say they're the bosses that they answer to, too, is the county commissioners.
So what are the constable's responsibilities?
They're officers of the court. So it's all civil process primarily. So that can be attorney general papers. It can be subpoenas for criminal court, civil court. It could be for suits, like small claims. They go out and go serve the defendant on behalf of the plaintiff. If Joe Schmo says, Joe Jr. owes me $3,000, more than likely, instead of a civil process server, a deputy constable is going to go and serve that small claims. Writs of execution, writs of sequestration, writs of reentry, writs of attachments, or which are like usually we're going to go and see some property because X needs it, or for whatever reason. Like they're going to perform those actions of the court on behalf of the courts because they're officers of the court. Now, a lot of people think that they can't pull you over. Like, you're going to do 90 miles an hour in a 65 past the constable, and they pull you over. Please stop, because the second that you don't, and each precinct is independent, they don't all share the same policy and procedures. They each have one elected constable.
That makes the rules for their agency.
The rules for their agency. Don't speed past them thinking that they're not going to do anything to me, because when they do and get behind you, and the red and blues come on, and you say, well, I passed them and said, constable, I'm going to keep driving. Okay, well, if you wreck and go to jail, that's on you.
It's felony evading if you take off. I mean, it's still it's a felony. I mean, yeah, it's still a police car.
Now another question is, well, do constables, deputy constables answer calls for service? Depends, because where there may be a lapse in service from a municipal agency or a sheriff's office that they don't have the manpower, citizens can contract with the constables to actually answer calls for service, because nothing says they can't.
Yeah, they can. Nothing says they can't.
And the greatest example really is Harris County. Like, the constables there, they take calls for service. Now, I don't know what the reason for that may be. Could be a manpower issue. Could be the citizens prefer the deputy constables over deputy sheriffs. Don't know. I'm not trying to get into it. Even in the city, like Harris County, the Harris County constables take calls in Houston. They can do it. It's nothing says they can't, and they will effectively do it. Like, I've sometimes perused the websites. They have some of them have SWAT teams. I think all 8 precincts do. They all have a warrant team. They all have gangs, narcs,
traffic, all that.
They have the same thing that
Harris County
they legally can. PD would have. Yeah. And all the other maybe the small little like agencies around them, like Pearland and all stuff like that, they can do it. Mm-hmm. They can do it. Their law enforcement officers in the state of Texas don't think that they cannot arrest you. They can't take a domestic violence. They can't issue a citation for speeding. They can still do all those things.
Because they're still Texas peace officers.
But a lot of people will assume that they can't do nothing but serve a paper, and that's not true. Mm-hmm. They get a lot of disrespect for that. And maybe outside of Harris County and other counties, they'll probably get a lot of disrespect for that. And some of the bigger counties that don't do what Harris County does. Yeah. Maybe not in the rural counties, because, hey, a person with a uniform and a badge in a rural county, yeah, you done fucked up somewhere.
Yeah, you screwed up. They got you.
They got you. But,
well, you know what, though? I'm sure, though, in Harris County, though, because they all know about the constables, they don't have that problem.
Yeah.
Because everybody knows that the constables handle the majority of call service that the sheriff's office normally would.
Right.
So they're used to seeing the constables. They're probably not as used to seeing the sheriff's office. Now, the sheriff's office out there can do the same things, but primarily the constables do it. Yeah. Now, the Harris County Sheriff's does have a gang unit. They do have a traffic unit. They do have that stuff, but they don't really handle the patrol function. And I think a lot of that's going to be money and manning. I think that's a lot of it because that is a massive county. Harris is huge. Not as big as Los Angeles County, which has 20,000 deputies.
Yeah, they're the largest sheriffs.
I think it's the largest sheriff's office in the U.S. is the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Office, or LASO. I think Los Angeles Sheriff's Office. I think it's called LASO, I think. Harris, though, is huge. It's 5 million, 6 million people. It's a huge county. And geographically, it's a huge county, too. It's not just a small county with 5 or 6 million people. It's still a big-ass county.
Yep.
And then we got some counties out in West Texas, 10,000 square miles, but there's 5,000 people in the whole county.
And because they have example of that is Brewster County.
Yeah, because they all have ranches.
It's the largest county in the state of Texas.
It's huge.
I think the population is 6,000.
Yeah, because they're ranch owners.
Yeah.
So this guy's got a 500-acre ranch. That guy's got a 10,000-acre ranch. That guy's got a 6,000-acre ranch. You generally don't have a lot of problems out there. The ranchers typically tend to handle it before they get there, and then they got them on the ground and strung up going, there he is. You can take him now. I caught him on my property. I hooked him and hog-tied him and take him. Oh, thanks. Appreciate it. And out there, the sheriff probably knows every single ranch owner. Yeah. They probably all call him by his first name. I voted for you, Jim. Get this asshole off my property. You know what I mean? But that's local politics. Have you ever heard the saying, all politics is local?
Yeah.
Okay. A county like Brewster, which only has 6,000, is probably made up of 80 ranches for the most part. And then you're going to have probably a little town somewhere in there that, that's going to be your services, right? Mm-hmm. But I guarantee you, those are the counties that everybody knows everybody. The sheriff knows everybody. The sheriff knows which kids are good, which kids are bad, which have good parents, which have parents don't give a fuck. Which problems these ranchers have. It makes it a little more effective. You start describing somebody like, oh, I know who that lives. I know where he lives.
Yeah.
You get a county our size, or Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, Corpus. Those are huge. You may have a harder time finding the suspect because you don't know everybody like those smaller counties do.
Yeah.
Smaller person-wise, not size-wise.
Yeah.
To get one side of Brewster to the other probably takes 2 hours to get one side of the county to the other. This county takes about 45 minutes, county line to county line. About 45 minutes. That's probably 2 hours. Because this county is 1,600 square miles. That county is 10,000 square miles. It is huge. And if you're in the county like that, you're going to have probably one trooper assigned to that county. Probably going to have one constable assigned to that county because it's only got 6,000 people. And then you're probably going to have one sheriff, maybe a deputy. Maybe you have a night shift deputy. The sheriff does it during the day, and you have a deputy who handles shit at night.
Yeah, that's some places are like that.
And then the trooper handles what the deputy can't. So that's the kind of place where the dispatcher just calls the trooper direct on the phone. Hey, Jimmy, I need you to go over to so-and-so. That's probably how that works. Because law enforcement, it's not about your pay. It's about a duty. And it's about a duty to protect and it's a duty to provide. It's a shit job. Someone has to do it. Now, getting back to my original point from the beginning, what kind of cop are you? So what do you want to do? Do you want to run the whole state? Do you want to run a whole county? Do you want to run just a city? If you strictly are going where the pay's at, great, good for you, but it may not be as good as you think it is just because it's paid that well. And the perfect fit might be an agency that doesn't pay as well, but that's your perfect fit. Mm-hmm. Like you have a sheriff that's go out there and do the damn job. And then you get that agency that, they start you out at $98,000 a year, but you got a chief that doesn't let you do shit because he's worried about political liability. Or financial liability. So he's like, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. You're like, well, fuck, I came to be a cop. Yeah, so pick and choose.
Yeah.
There is nothing wrong with going to that agency and talking to those officers or deputies. They will be very frank with you. Believe me, we'll be a little too frank with you sometimes. Like, should I join your agency? Fuck no, run like hell. Okay, go to the next county, Or we may say, yeah, man, this is a great agency. We got a great boss, got a great this, got a great that. We got this program. Man, come on over, man. Now, ride-alongs, we don't typically do them. You don't see ride-alongs as much anymore because there's too much liability with that. We crash the car with them in it, or someone shoots at us and hits the ride-along.
I think it was in Florida. You see the ride-along that brought their own gun.
I heard about that. Yeah.
Dude got arrested.
No, you can't do that.
But it's funny.
Appreciate the help, but you can't do that.
He was helping.
He was helping
the deputy, but
you're not trained. You're just going to be in the way at that point. You're going to be in my way more than you're going to help me. You know what I mean?
I was like, damn, that's cold business.
Yeah, that's cold-blooded. So, again, the dildo of consequences rarely comes lewd. So
a lot of the good stuff comes out of Florida, man.
I know. So I love the sheriffs in Florida. I mean, I love their governor. But I love Sheriff Grady Judd. Sheriff Wood. I love those sheriffs because they believe in law and order. Love them. You know, they're like, if you're an idiot, we're going to handle business. You shoot at us, we're going to shoot you back.
I think the Lee County Sheriff is the one who, when he busts up them trap houses, and he'll put everybody inside the trap house, like in his PSA, like to his constituents.
Yep.
I'm just like, and the dudes, sometimes the dudes are pissed off. They're throwing the middle finger, like, man, fuck you, like in the back. Hilarious.
Okay, but maybe you shouldn't run a trap house. I'm just saying.
A bando.
I could see both sides of doing that, yes or no. You know, because remember, everyone's innocent until proven guilty. Now, to qualify that statement, innocent until proven guilty does not apply to law enforcement. That applies to the courts. Mm-hmm. We don't arrest people we think are innocent. We arrest you because we think you're guilty.
Yeah.
Based on probable cause.
Yeah.
The juries, you get the presumption of innocence from the courts.
Yes.
Not from law enforcement.
Which is very powerful.
So when I hear that I'm innocent until proven guilty, motherfucker, I wouldn't be arresting you if I thought you were innocent. I think you're guilty, and here's why. ABC, also known as probable cause, that you've broken the elements of this offense, and here's why. Yes, I think you're guilty, and that's why I'm arresting you. Yeah. You get the presumption of innocence in the juries and the judge. That's it. Not for the prosecutor, and not for law enforcement.
A lot of countries don't even have that standard. It's just, our police arrested you, you must be guilty.
You're guilty.
The court is going to see you as guilty, and that's it.
Yeah. Or you may have a kangaroo court.
Yeah.
That just makes up their own fucking rules. You don't get a defense. You don't get to talk. You don't get to present witnesses. You don't get to face your accuser. It's just, that's it. Now, I read a great book by a Korean detective, a South Korean. And
I'm going to say, yeah, was this book North Korean? Like,
no, it was South Korean. But they are flabbergasted in Asia that a murder case could be thrown out because someone didn't get a Miranda right read. To them, that just baffles them. Like, so he admitted to the crime, yeah. But the case got dismissed. Well, yeah, because his confession was inadmissible because he didn't get told he had the right to shut up. And they're just like baffled by that. Like, what? He confessed. What the fuck? You know, so they don't understand that because in Asian cultures, the doubt flows more toward the victim, not the suspect. The doubt flows to the victim. Mm-hmm. And they're going to get justice for the victim. So they don't believe that a case should be dismissed because someone didn't get read a Miranda warning or told they have the right to remain quiet. They're like, no, hell no. But they're all the same countries that have a tendency, like there's a great joke in Korea about he wanted to sign the confession, but all his fingers are broken. So different countries have different rules. And what you see as a gross violation of civil rights in those countries, like we call that Tuesday, because they don't have the Constitution we have. They don't have the limits we have. Now, you go to Western Europe, it's pretty damn civilized. You go to Britain, Germany, Belgium, Austria, Holland, you're not going to get the shit beat out of you. You're not going to know that crap. Those cops are very, very professional. They're absolutely 100% professional. You start getting into the East Bloc, Czech, Chechnya, all that. No, that's a whole different world over there. Middle East, Africa, and Asia. No, that's different rules. So people want to talk shit about us. Oh, you guys violate rights. I'm like, have you been to Africa or the Middle East or Asia and seen those cops? Those are thugs of the badge who have no regard and do not care. They give you the rights. You got the rights they say you have that day, and there ain't too many of them. Just cross the border heading south. Every Mexican cop, they're not trained to our standard. They're not. They're just not. They're given a badge and a gun. They don't even have guns. They're all loaded down there. They're scared to give those guys full loads because they may take over. So some cops down there don't even have ammo in their weapons.
Oh, it's weird.
Yeah, but that's because they have a tendency to be crooked. But when a cartel comes to you and says, you work for us, we kill your whole fucking family.
That's true.
What do you do at that point? It sucks. And you're a cop and you want to go, no, motherfucker, I'm a cop. But when they're going to kill your wife and kids because you're not working for them now, I mean, it's a shit position to be in.
Yeah.
And I know we'd all love to say, no, I wouldn't do that. But I haven't been faced with that. And you haven't been faced with that. I don't know what I'd do, though. Someone said, I will kill your wife. I will kill your kids. Like, fuck. And they'll do it, too. That's not an idle threat. Cartels, that's not an idle threat.
Yeah.
Like, I walk in the street, man, I'm going to kill you. What I mean is I'm going to fuck you up. We're going to try to fight. But when the cartel says, I'm going to kill your wife and kids, they mean exactly that.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do you do? Or they go to a judge and go, you work for us now, or we kill your family. Like, well, fuck, now what do you do? So they're stuck in a shitty position. So I'm not judging them because of that. It sucks. I'd like to say that I'd had the balls to say, nah, man, I don't care if you become a wife and kids. I will not be crooked. I'm not been faced with that.
Mm-hmm.
Down there, they have to live with it. That's a daily fact of life. So what do? I can't judge them. I have no room to judge them.
Yeah.
But would I want to deal with him? Hell no. Can't trust him.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are some border areas, the officers are corrupt on our side because the cartel has infiltrated them.
Yeah.
It's just, that's the realities and facts of life. Money talks and bullshit walks. Cartel says, I'm going to give you plata o plomo. Lead or money? Lead or, what is it? Lead or gold, right? Plata o plomo? Lead or silver?
I've never heard that before.
Lead or silver. Escobar used to say that. Plata o plomo. Lead or silver. You're going to get one of the two. Dead or money. Pick.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't take the money, well, you might get the lead. You know what I mean? It's kind of like in prison. There's going to be blood on my knife or shit on my dick. It's going to be one of the two.
No. That's some old school stuff right
That's
there.
old school shit, but that's how it is down in South America. Plata o plomo. Lead or silver. Pick. Mexico's the same way. Pick. Because once they come to you, it's not like you can say no. I mean, I can't hear you. We're not having this conversation. No. Once they zone in on you and say, now you got a choice. You work for us or we kill your family. What the fuck are you supposed to do now?
Yeah.
You can't quit. Because like, oh no, you work for us now. It's like, fuck.
No 2-week notice?
Yeah, it's like, son of a bitch. So, what are you supposed to do? Run off to your chief?
Oh, no.
You know what I mean? Chief's probably in on it already. Like, they probably got to him when he was a patrolman. Like, when you deal with systems like that, who do you trust?
Yeah.
You know, I would love to think that there are loyal, duty-bound, honest cops in Mexico. Unfortunately, you don't know who they are.
Yeah.
So you can't assume they are. So you got to be really careful if you work with them. It's kind of like the Middle East. You don't know which one of the population is a terrorist and which one's not. They all look the same. So it's the same down there. Yeah, you see a badge and a gun. But I'll tell you right now, I won't work with Mexican police. I just don't trust them. And it's not their fault, but I can't. I don't have a choice in that. So it sucks. They're stuck in a shit position. I'm sure they would like to arrest bad guys. I'm sure they'd like to enforce the law, but they don't want to come home and find their wife and kids dead because they didn't play the game.
Right.
So I try not to judge them too harshly because we don't live in that world. They live in that world. But trust, yeah, I just can't. It is what it is. And that's why even the DEA doesn't really work with Mexican police. Now, I didn't really cover the feds too much. We can do a brief overview of the feds, which is a different ballgame. You know, you have your FBI,
Right.
your ATF, your DEA, your U.S. Marshals, your Secret Service. Those are your biggies. I'm not going to get into the post office, which does have law enforcement officers. They do have agents. IRS also has actual federal agents, gun and badge. Those are your actual Treasury agents.
Mm-hmm.
But FBI handles like espionage, federal crimes,
Terrorism.
domestic terrorism. But they will deploy if Americans are killed in a terrorism accident overseas, because that still falls under the purview of the FBI. And then you have your ATF. Their job is alcohol, tobacco, firearms. They regulate alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. It's right in the name. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. And explosives.
Oh,
they do explosives too. So Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms. DEA. They handle, but not just narcotics. They're also in charge of prescriptions.
Yeah.
Medication. So if you have, let's say you were a doctor, your prescription medication log can be audited by the DEA. 100%. They also check out pharmacies. They also make sure pharmacies are doing what they're supposed to be doing. I mean, There's a lot of rules. Marshal Service primarily handles federal court security, federal court prisoner transport, and fugitives.
Yep.
And they also do sex offenders now. That got added to the purview like 15 years ago. That got added to the marshals, is running down sex offenders. Secret Service primarily handles protection, but they also handle counterfeiting. That's also their bailiwick, is counterfeiting.
They do that. Absolutely.
So they do the counterfeiting shit too. They're all federal agents. They have federal authority anywhere in the United States. Federally. That's their job. CIA cannot operate domestically inside the United States. It's against the law. And they don't. I know TV and movies make it think they do, but the CIA really doesn't actually operate domestically. Okay? That's movie bullshit. Their job is anything outside the borders of the United States. And that's intelligence, counterintelligence, surveillance, shit like that. Or they have a direct action group, which sometimes takes care of business. But those are your large federal agencies. Yeah, you're going to have your Postal Inspector Service. Postal Inspector Service, those are cops. They're federal agents, but they are law enforcement. Mm-hmm. You have your IRS Treasury agents. They're the law enforcement side of the IRS. The ones who make the arrests and do the criminal investigations. I'm trying to think of another federal agency. I know I'm missing one. Probably missing a couple.
No, you're definitely. I mean, there's
just so many.
There's so many.
But the big ones are the FBI, DEA, ATF, U.S. Marshals, Secret Service. Those are your big five. Those ones everybody knows for the most part. But they may not know what they do.
Yeah.
Now, does this mean the FBI cannot investigate gun crimes? They sure can. It's not solely the ATF.
The feds will pick up a gun crime.
Yeah, they'll pick up the FBI will pick up a gun charge.
Especially if it's the hand of a gang member.
Yeah.
There's a very great chance that charge could go federal.
Now, the marshals typically don't do investigations. Doesn't mean they don't. They just typically don't. Their job's going to be guarding the federal courthouse, federal courts, transporting federal prisoners, like Con Air, the movie Con Air of the 90s. That's actually a thing called Con Air. That's moving prisoners from prisoners around the country. And then the Marshals Fugitive Task Force, the ones who go look for fugitives. So that's their responsibility. It doesn't mean they can't investigate you. It doesn't mean they can't arrest you for a crime they've investigated. They can. They 100% can. Mm-hmm. FBI, so murder is a state crime. Murder is not a federal offense. It's a state offense. So the FBI does not typically investigate murder by itself. Now, if it's, say, connected to organized crime with branches outside of those states, okay, now they can because it's outside that state. So it's going to be a federal case because we have no authority to investigate people in other states at the state level. We don't have that authority, but the FBI does. Mm-hmm. So it's like kidnapping. Kidnapping becomes federal when there's a chance they've been taken out of state. Yeah. So if you're in Rhode Island, the FBI will get involved instantly because in 20 minutes they're outside the state. Right. State of Texas, the FBI monitors the kidnapping until it comes to the time frame where now they could be out of the state, and then the FBI comes in with 2 feet. Right. But they'll start assisting immediately though, because there's a chance they could be taken either across the border into Mexico or any of the surrounding states. But if you're heading northeast or west, that's a hell of a long drive to get outside the state. South, it's 3 hours, you're in Mexico. Mm-hmm. So that's where the FBI can assist there. So they're monitoring. Anytime there's a kidnapping or potential kidnapping, the FBI immediately starts monitoring. And when it's either we know we hit the time frame where they could have made it out of the state or they made it into Mexico, the FBI will jump in. Right. Okay, now we're going to help you out. And then we may end up taking it if they do take them out of state. So that's how that works. But any one of those federal agencies can enforce any federal law because they're federal agents, but they just have their niches. So they may say, well, we got a gun case, but it's solely gun. Let the ATF have it. Yeah. You know, that's their bailiwick. But if it's connected to their other federal investigation they may say, fuck it, we'll take it too. Because it's still a federal offense. It's still under a federal statute. So I'm not going to go heavily into the federal agencies, but that's just the broad strokes. But do they have authority? Anywhere in the United States. All 50 states, period. And Puerto Rico. They have authority in Puerto Rico as well, because Puerto Rico is a protectorate. Mm-hmm. So that's the feds. Now, can feds arrest for state crimes? Oh, we forgot Border Patrol and ICE and Homeland Security. We forgot those three.
How could we forget those?
I know. We just did a whole episode on them. Okay. Federal agents do not arrest for state crimes, with the exception of Border Patrol in the state of Texas. The governor passed into law that Border Patrol can arrest you for state offenses. Absolutely. Now, is Border Patrol going to do it? Probably not. But can they? They now legally can, and we will take the charge. Mm-hmm. That was enacted, though, because of all the crap happening on the border. That's why that got passed as a law. The governor signed it in, and it's a law now. They can. But yeah, I forgot your Border Patrol. Those are federal agents. They have federal authority like FBI agents all over the United States. They're federal law enforcement. I don't know why people don't understand that. It's not just on the border only. No, it's anywhere in the United States. ICE, same thing. And Homeland Security, it's the same thing. They all three have federal authority. They just have different jobs. Yeah. Border Patrol is responsible for border incursions. Customs is responsible for customs, and that could be drugs, vegetables, consumables, taxes, animals, like anything that could affect the economy or the agriculture of the United States. That's what customs does. Mm-hmm. That's why they'll stop a truck full of lettuce coming and going, we got to make damn sure there's no pests in here that get into U.S. crops.
That they don't deal with.
Yeah, that's an invasion of a foreign species into our plants, and oh, fuck, now we have an outbreak. Yeah. Like foot and mouth disease, cattle. Mm-hmm. We don't want that shit over here. Yeah. Like, no, stay in England, you're good. Don't bring that shit over here. But it would destroy the cattle industry here, and all of a sudden a steak would cost you $90. You know what I mean? Because now instead of say just 100,000 slaughter cattle, there's only 20,000. Right. So yeah, customs has actually an important job. They really do. ICE, of course, we know ICE is Immigration Customs Enforcement. If you are not here legally, that's their job. We're not going to get into that. We already had a whole episode on that. How we haven't been canceled, I don't know. The liberals are falling asleep on the job.
We're just not important enough. That's
I
okay.
guess not. Yeah, we got a small
I'm
enough
okay
audience. They're
with
leaving us alone. Maybe we should never get a big audience because then we actually become targets. You know, you become a victim of your own success. Like the nail that sticks up is the one that gets hammered down, right? And then Homeland Security, which has TSA, Air Marshals, Coast Guard. While Coast Guard is a branch of the military, they fall under Homeland Security.
Okay.
So they are law enforcement. So when they're on the high seas,
maritime, right?
and heave to, prepare to be boarded. This is the United States Coast Guard. Cut your engines, prepare to be boarded. They can do that legally, 100%. And they have 50 cals on those boats for a reason, and they will use them. So that's your drug runners, your illegals, shit like that.
Pirates.
Maritime safety, piracy. While that's not a huge deal here, that's a much bigger deal on the east coast of Africa. That's a much bigger problem on the east coast of Africa. That's why we have military units that actually go over there and they handle that anti-piracy shit. So primarily the SEALs, that's maritime. So the SEALs handle that. And what I love is now they got these cruise liners that will allow people to pay as bait to draw in some pirates and kill them. It's great. You can actually like do a 2-week safari off the east coast of Africa, and it looks like a regular pleasure boat, and they're all armed to the teeth. They pay for the right to be there. Here comes the pirates, and they just open up on them. I think it's fantastic.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that happened.
There's a whole company that does it. Like, come on down, bring your guns. It's like, hell yeah. So now the terror or the pirates are getting a little more cautious now about attacking yachts because it might be 50 rednecks with rifles and shotguns. So that's law enforcement in a nutshell. You could do an hour-long episode on each individual, an hour-long on Texas State Police or any state police. Or
it would take too long. Yeah.
It would just take too long. But in a nutshell, any Texas peace officer is a peace officer, period. And they have the same authority, rights, and privileges as any other peace officer in the state. Doesn't matter where you're from, whether it's from Corpus Christi to the Red River and Beaumont, El Paso. They're cops.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter if it's school police, transit police, constables, park rangers. They're police officers. If they have red and blue lights, they're cops. End of story. That's why they legally have red and blue lights, because they're cops. Security guards have orange rotating beacons. Police officers have red and blue. So if you see red and blues come up behind you, it don't matter if it's a game warden. That's a police officer, and it's a state police officer too. He's just going to radio DPS, and all of a sudden you're going to have 20 DPS cars there. You're going to be like, well, I thought he wasn't a real cop. Well, you thought wrong, and ignorance is no excuse of the law. Yeah. You can use it as a mitigating factor in your sentencing, but you're still going to be found guilty of the felony evading because it's a police officer. As indicated by the red and blue lights, his badge, his gun, his vest, his authority. Yep. Like, a cop when you see one. Let's stop pretending you didn't think you thought he was a security guard, because that's horse shit. So that's why I'm titling this episode, What Kind of Cop Are You? But in the end, they're all cops, period. Mm-hmm. And a cop is a cop is a cop. Whether you're a cop in Texas, California, Maine, it doesn't matter, because constitutionally we all fall under the same Supreme Court rulings.
Yeah.
So because of that, murder's still murder, theft's still theft, card theft is still card theft, manslaughter is still manslaughter. Those things really don't change from state to state. They may call it something else in the state, but it's the same thing. So in California, it has attempted murder. We don't have attempted murder in Texas because we can't prove the intent was murder. So we say it's aggravated assault, right, which is the same fucking thing. If I hit you in the head with a bat and you don't die, California would call it attempted murder, because I would assume that if I hit you in the head with a bat, it will kill you.
And then I guess they'd prove the lesser offense. It would be like some GBI, like great bodily harm,
great bodily injury. So here it would be aggravated assault, deadly weapon. It's still a first-degree felony, and there's a reason for that, because it still could have resulted in the death of somebody.
Yeah. So
that's why people leave other states, become cops in other states. They usually don't have problems, because a cop's a cop's a cop. A turd's a turd. Whether you're anywhere you're at, you don't have to know the turd to know he's a turd.
He'd be a turd with an accent.
He's a turd with an accent, I mean, so that's why a lot of cops are leaving California and going to other states. They're coming to Texas, they're going to Florida, they're going to Alabama, they're going to Georgia, where they're doing the same exact job, maybe not making as much because it was California, but they're allowed to do their job, and they really don't have a problem, because a turd's a turd, a cop's a cop, a traffic stop's a traffic stop.
Yeah.
So what's the difference? You just got to get to know that area, but that's about it. Traffic stop's universal. we all do it the same fucking way across the United States. A DWI is universal because the SFST is U.S. wide identical. So there's not much difference. You just have to learn the laws of that state and that area you're working. Other than that, go do your job. A door's a door. Kick it. You know what I mean? What are you waiting for? I'm California, don't do that. Well, you do it here in Georgia, buddy. Kick that door. You know what I mean? So that's why cops all tend to get along no matter where you're from. You get us in a group, you go to it's like a training, and you got cops from other states that come in for that training. You all get along. You're all cops, regardless of where you're from. We may not talk to the ones from California, but that's not their fault. But I guess, all right, man, you stay over there. You know, we don't want you infecting the rest of the crowd with that shit.
I'll talk to them.
You know, I do talk to them. Whenever I'm back in California, I do talk to them, and they all universally say the same thing. They would love to be able to do their job, but they're not allowed to because of the policies of that state and the leadership of that state.
That's how it goes.
So they've been handcuffed, but they don't like it. But some of them are too close to retirement to just quit and leave. Where they're like, well, fuck, man, I'm 3 years from retirement. Like, fuck.
Yeah.
So I'm stuck with it. So a lot of them just leave the street and go to positions where they're not going to have to get in trouble. Like, you know what? Fuck it. And that sucks because you took an officer who wanted to be proactive. And now he's like, nope, I'm working
property room.
I'm parking property room. I don't got to do shit in here. I ain't going to get in trouble in here. I won't put my hands on somebody in here, you know, and that sucks.
Yeah.
So that's why you got a lot of officers that I tell them, choose wisely because people will talk to me and like, you know, should I be a this? Should I be a that? I can't tell you that. I can only say, what do you want to do? Mm-hmm. What is your ultimate goal? Do you want to be a homicide detective? Do you want to be a traffic officer? What do you want to do? Do you want to do 5 years in a large agency and then go to the FBI, which makes you a better federal agent because you were a street cop for 5 years? Yeah. So a turd's a turd. You recognize that when you come out of Quantico versus the guy who just came out of Quantico, who just came out of college and has never put his handcuffs on somebody and never put his hands on somebody. Who would you rather have? The LAPD officer who was LAPD 5 years who became an FBI agent? Or the guy straight out of college at 23 who doesn't have a clue because he's never been there? Because criminals don't care if you're an FBI agent.
Nope.
They'll fight you.
Yeah.
But would you rather which one do you think he's going to fight? The one who was LAPD for 5 years or the rookie out of Quantico?
Yeah.
Oh, he's going to pound on that rookie out of Quantico because that rookie out of Quantico is going to be like, sir, stop. Sir, FBI, stop. That former LAPD officer is going to be like, go ahead, motherfucker. Come on. Come get it. You know? And that LAPD going to come out real quick. I was Rampart. Come and get it, bitch. You know? And of course, every other FBI agent standing there is going to be like, oh, shit. You're not being nice to him. No, fuck that. I don't do nice. Nice is for when you don't have to put your hands on somebody. That's what nice is for.
I will say that'd probably be like one agency I'd probably work for, like out of state, just to
who
prestige in the name.
FBI?
LAPD.
Oh, LAPD? Oh yeah, just to say you're LAPD.
Hell yeah.
Because that academy is brutal. Just the academy alone is brutal as hell. And then they stick your ass in Rampart or South Central or
Hollywood,
East LA or
Hollywood. Ain't good. Like
now,
it sounds good because it's Hollywood, but
Hollywood has a lot of shit that goes on.
No,
but you know where they send officers to die? Palisades, Venice. You know, you go to beach shit. But officers, Rampart, South Central, East LA, Hollywood. Yeah, you're gonna work. You're gonna work hard. You know? And if you're in Rampart or you're East LA or South Central, you're gonna work really fucking hard. And every night is a war zone. They did a study where they put heart monitors on officers assigned to Rampart, and their heart rate stays about 150 their whole shift. Can you imagine 12 hours at 150 beats per minute? They're exhausted by the end of it.
Yeah.
Because you have to have such a high level of you better fucking pay attention to what's going around you. Because they will kill you. Those assholes get medals from their fellow gang members for killing that cop. They're not going to hide them. They're going to be like, fuck yeah, good job. Yeah. Rampart is a whole different world, especially like Crash or something. Like, holy shit. So I got a lot of respect for Los Angeles police officers because that's a sewer. And they have to wade in and out of that shit every night for 12 hours. Like, fuck that. You know, we think it's bad here, and it is. It's got some uglies here, but nothing like that shit. You know, not saying that you and I couldn't handle it if we went there. Turd's a turd, cop's a cop. I mean, do your job. But the sheer volume of it.
Yeah.
Just the volume. How many people in Los Angeles County? 25 million or some shit? I mean, it's just a different insane
environment, culture, period.
Yeah, and it's a different culture.
Yeah.
And you can go from the beach to the mountains to any and still be in LA. I mean, it's just, holy shit. You know, I'm kind of curious how many officers there are in Los Angeles Police Department.
That's a lot of them, like, what? 9,000?
Oh, the employed? Oh no, I'm sure it's more than that.
Okay.
I'm wondering how much the population
Population
of Los Angeles County, and Los Angeles Municipal.
Right.
I'm really kind of curious. It's got to be 20 million. I swear it's got to be. The place is so massive.
Mm-hmm.
When you have that urban sprawl, L.A., Chicago, New York, Houston, San Francisco, that's huge. I mean, just sprawling areas. I mean, you got everything there is to have. You got everything, the worst area to the nice area. You got everything from the billionaires down to the homeless. I mean, and you have it all. And then you got your gangs that come with that. And it's just, but LA and New York are probably the two, just like, holy shit. Like,
man, NYPD, I just don't want to be working a foot beat. Man,
yeah, I don't want to be walking the Bronx. No, I'm good.
I want to have a 5-block beat. And you got to run up 4 flights of stairs.
4?
To like the
400 square feet. You get the fucking 30th floor. Like, oh my God. By the time you get up there, that dude already took off. You're like, oh, me. He was going down the other stairwell on the other side. Pass. I couldn't live in a vertical city. I couldn't do that. No, thank you.
It looks like Judge Dredd. It's just like 90 stories.
I am the law. I am the law. So, that, in a nutshell, today was what we wanted to discuss because I get those questions. What's the difference? What is a real cop versus what's not a real cop? What's their authority? And I think we broke it down pretty good today to where basically if they say police or sheriff, they're all police officers, period. And they all have the same rights and authority and can all arrest you. So don't get froggy just because it says airport police. Those are still police officers.
Yeah.
And they'll arrest you too. So, but J-Man and I want to introduce a segment that we're thinking about doing in every episode. We want to introduce a case law and go through that case law for our fellow brothers and sister officers to maybe you didn't hear about this case law, and here's just the broad bareback. We're not going to go through the entire dissenting opinions of all the Supreme Court justices.
It's too long.
We're going to tell you what basically happened, what the court ruled, and what the Supreme Court ruled after that. Okay, and then that way you can just stick that in your brain, like, okay, can't do this, or we can do that based on this.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna start doing again our Officer Down Memorial, which we kind of stopped doing because it was kind of a downer, but we both kind of realized that no, we need to do that. We need to honor the sacrifice of fellow law enforcement officers who lost their lives in the line of duty, and we've had two this week alone. It's only the third, and we've already had 2 dead. Yeah. I mean, it's insane, and it's not stopping. I was going to come up with a case law. There's so many of them. Yeah. Well, it had cool music. Let me turn that down. There's so many, and it's really just kind of hard to pick one each week. But I'm going to do this one because tasers have become kind of a hot topic, and what does it mean of when to use it, when not to use it, when is it constitutionally acceptable, what has the Supreme Court said about it. And if you're going to carry one, you really should know this because it's too late when you're getting sued or you're a suspect to say, I didn't know. Well, officer, you signed for it and you carry it. Yeah. It's too late at that point.
Yeah.
So know your case laws because those are what save you or hurt you depending on what you did.
Right.
So this is Bryan versus McPherson. It's a 2010 case law. 9th Circuit. So it's taser use in the Fourth Amendment. So Fourth Amendment is what? Search and seizure. An arrest is a seizure. Using force is a seizure. And tasering is a seizure because that's use of force. So it's Fourth Amendment. So any use of force is going to be your Fourth Amendment. So 9th Circuit ruling on police use of electronic control device or taser. We'll just say, instead of ECD, we'll just say taser because everyone knows what a taser is. Right. You say ECD and they're thinking pacemaker. Was it unconstitutional to tase a nonviolent, unarmed, and visibly distressed motorist? Now on the surface, like, God damn, unarmed, nonviolent, and in distress, and you tased him? There's always more to the story. Always more to the story. But the lawsuit was filed under federal 42 U.S. Code 1983, which 1983 is a civil rights violation for alleged excessive force. So here is the background, the case background of this case. Traffic stop in Coronado, California. Of course, it would be California, but 9th Circuit, we already knew it was probably going to be California. Bryan was unarmed, so that's Bryan. Bryan was unarmed, shirtless, and not making aggressive gestures when Officer McPherson, that's why it's Bryan versus McPherson. It's the civilian suing the officer. When Officer McPherson tased him without warning. Bryan filed a suit for excessive force under 42 U.S. Code 1983. Again, civil rights The Ninth Circuit found the force used potentially excessive force under the Fourth Amendment and denied qualified immunity. And one day we will talk about qualified immunity and really get into that, because there's a lot of misperception about qualified immunity, what it means. So the force that was used was taser deployed against a nonviolent unarmed motorist. The device was used in dart mode from 15 to 25 feet away. Now, for those that do not carry a taser and do not know about tasers, you have two modes you can use it. You have the probe mode, which is the darts, or you have the drive stun, where you can just use the electrical current right up against their skin. Mm-hmm. This was probe mode, which is the most common mode. Honestly, you fire it, it locks them up, and it's called NMI, neuromuscular incapacitation, and they fall down. Brian suffered abrasions and 4 small wounds. Okay, the legal question before the court. So here's what came before the court. Did the officer's use of a taser without warning against a non-threatening, non-fleeing individual violate the Fourth Amendment's prohibition on excessive force? So that's the question before the court.
Right.
So, Graham versus Connor, being the use of force standard for law enforcement, is the use of force analysis by the courts. They use Graham versus Connor to analyze this and go, was this a violation of excessive force in the Fourth Amendment? Graham requires evaluating force under objective reasonableness. What does objective reasonableness mean? That means if you take 10 officers and the majority say, we think that was reasonable based on the circumstances of the time, that is objectively reasonable.
Right.
But if the majority say, no, that was too far, then that's not objectively reasonable, therefore possibly a violation of civil rights.
Right.
Fourth Amendment violation. So, Brian tased after getting out of car during seatbelt stop. He stood 20 feet away unarmed, raising no immediate threat. Considering the Graham factors, severity of the crime,
right,
immediate threat, and resistance or flight, the court found the intermediate force excessive. I imagine they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even in Fifth Circuit down here, I think they'd have been like, nah, that was probably too far. So what was the crime? What was the factors? So driving with a suspended license. Okay. Now, depending on that state, maybe that state allows you to make an arrest for that. Or maybe your agency says you will arrest for that, for driving on a suspended license. Some states do. Like, they hook you for that. Mm-hmm. Some states, here's a ticket, get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
So a lot of that's going to be, what is your agency's policy? Mm-hmm. What does your policy say about that? Does it say make an arrest, you give them a ticket and call it a day? Brian was not posing an immediate threat. Brian was not actively resisting or evading arrest. Factors suggested risk of civil rights claims under a 1983 action. So here's the legal holding. The Ninth Circuit ruled that the officer's use of the taser was excessive. The court applied Graham versus Connor for evaluation of reasonableness, held that taser use in dart mode constitutes a serious use of force requiring substantial justification under the Fourth Amendment. I imagine they did.
Yeah.
So, here's the key takeaways on that case for the law enforcement officers watching this. A taser is considered intermediate force under the Fourth Amendment. So it's less than lethal, but it's more than hands. Mm-hmm. So bear that in mind. It's an intermediate. And if we all remember the use of force scale, that's not you don't have to start it. You don't have to go command presence, verbal, soft hands, hard hands, lethal. You don't have to do that. It's dependent on the scenario. But it is considered intermediate weapon. But it's called a less lethal weapon, not a non-lethal weapon. Under Graham versus Connor, officers must assess threat level, resistance, and severity of the crime. If they're running from murder, yeah, you tase them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You need to get them into custody. They, fuck you, I'm not getting out of this car, but they're being passive. Yeah, you don't, okay, like, let's weigh the factors here. Passive non-compliance, that's the key phrase in this one. Passive non-compliance. Fuck you is not active resistance. That's passive non-compliance. Passive non-compliance without an immediate threat, does not justify taser use. Yeah, no shit. Failure to give a warning before deploying a taser violated clearly established law also. So, for those that carry taser, in all taser trainings through Taser and Axon, say, when possible, what are you supposed to say before you deploy that taser? Taser, taser, taser. You're warning the suspect and you're warning your fellow officers.
Yeah.
So, because sometimes you can start doing that. Taser, taser, taser. Okay, I'm done.
All right.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Turn around, put your hands behind your back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it solved the problem. So, I don't know what ended up happening to McPherson. A lot of people think that just because the Supreme Court or the Circuit Court 3 years later said it was bad, you're fired. Not always. If it wasn't against policy then, and it wasn't against a case law then, now it's just maybe a lesson learned, don't do it again. Yeah. But if you violate an established case law already, like Miranda versus Arizona, Pennsylvania versus Mims, Graham versus Connor, well-established case law at the time you were an officer, you may have a problem then.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But we want to start doing a case law every episode to educate everybody. It's not just for us, civilians watching too. But for the civilians listening, the roadside is not the place to play lawyer. Don't do it. That's not the place to play lawyer. That's what court's for. Let your lawyer handle that. He's the one who went to law school and knows case laws, and let him handle that. If you're going for the ride, you're already going. Don't make it worse.
Yeah, and if officers think they're violating their rights, just comply. Trust me, you're going to find out. They're going to find out if you're violating your rights or not. Just do it in court.
Yeah, do it in court, and that's the place to fight that battle. Nowhere else.
Because some states do a lot. Like you are not allowed to resist an unlawful arrest. You
can't legally resist.
Be charged with. Resisting arrest.
You cannot
even though the arrest
resist
is
arrest because you are not in the position to decide whether that was unlawful or against your constitutional rights or civil rights. You don't have that say. That's for the courts.
Yeah.
So you on the side of the road are not playing circuit court or Supreme Court. Just comply. Deal with it later.
Yeah.
Here's our 2 officer downs. So the first one is Deputy Sheriff Devin Mason of the Darlington County Sheriff's Office in South Carolina. His end of watch was July 1st, so he was the first one in July. He was shot and killed while responding to a call in Old Timers Court in Darlington County. At 1:30 a.m., Deputy Mason and another deputy arrived at the residence where a man had outstanding warrants. As soon as the deputies entered the house, the subject opened fire on both deputies. Deputy Mason was mortally wounded, and the other deputy was transported to the hospital in stable condition. The suspect was shot and killed by responding deputies. Another subject was apprehended. So Deputy Mason has served with Darlington County SO for over 3 months. Jesus. He had just completed his field training a week earlier. That's a shame. He is survived by his son, mother, stepfather, and fiance. He was 27 years old. Damn, brother. All right, second one. This is Miguel Cano from the California Highway Patrol. And he died yesterday on July 2nd. So, Officer Miguel Cano was killed in a vehicle crash at Bristol Parkway north of Green Valley Circle in Culver City, California at 12:30 a.m. Officer Cano and his partner had just arrested a subject for possession of drugs and an illegal weapon and were transporting him to be processed. While driving on Bristol Parkway, Officer Cano stated he did not feel well. Shortly after that, he lost control of his patrol vehicle and crashed into a tree. Officer Cano was transported to Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center where he passed away. His partner and the detainee suffered minor injuries. It is believed that Officer Cano suffered a medical emergency and lost consciousness before the crash. So they're investigating that currently. Officer Cano had served with California Highway Patrol for 2 years. He's survived by his wife and parents. He was 34 years old and he had been for CHP for 2 years. So that's automobile crash. So that's the 2 in July so far. Up to date this year, we've had 41 already. And we're on July 3rd as of today. 23 have died by gunfire, 14 by auto-related, 2 by medical, and 2 other. Gunfire, medical, and auto are the 3 that get us the most.
Yep.
Other, I don't know what they classify as other, honestly. So, brothers, that's ultimate sacrifice, and it could be any one of us. So, in this episode, please watch each other's backs. Please be cautious of what you're doing. Assume every person wants to kill you until proven otherwise. This is not going to be a dick when you walk up to everybody, but assume they want to until you know for sure. There's nothing wrong with asking people, hey man, you got a weapon. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't care if they think it's rude. Who gives a shit? It's your life. You know, you do what your stripes can handle, right?
Right.
So, brothers and sisters, please keep each other safe. Pay attention to your surroundings. Pay attention to what's going on around you. Pay attention to hands. Watch the hands. Watch the hands. Watch the hands. I can't say it enough. Eyes cannot kill you. Hands sure as hell can. So, and for our civilian listeners out there, if you've enjoyed the show, check us out on YouTube. Tell your friends and family about us. And if you want to email us, please email us at runnincode2023@gmail.com. That's RUNNINCODE2023@gmail.com. Email us. We'll respond to it. Send you a message. Leave comments on the YouTube. It's funny, nobody leaves comments, and I made sure it was unlocked. People could leave comments. No one's leaving comments. Like, not even the shitty ones lately. Like, come on, guys, you're falling down on the job. So, if there's something you want us to talk about, we get enough people asking about a certain topic, we'll do it.
Yeah.
Why not? But please go back and look at our past episodes. We may have already answered that. So doesn't mean we won't talk about it again, but may not devote a whole episode to it.
Yeah.
This one we did because the amount of questions people get about what are the rights and limits of who can do what. Well, we can all do everything. We're still cops, so and we'll back each other up. You know what I mean? You even had 6 different agencies dogpiling one guy. Well, they're all cops. And I've seen it, and now you're trying to figure out who's got the arrest. All of a sudden, people start disappearing as soon as that guy's in handcuffs. So now the rookies all of a sudden stand there holding him, and he didn't even start the whole thing. But J-Man, you have anything to add, brother?
No, that's it.
Well, brothers, sisters, take care of yourselves. We'll see you in a week for another fun episode of Run and Code. We thank y'all for joining us, and we're out here.
Yep.